Hello, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be updating my 13.12 Toplane Tierlist for patch 13.12. So if you enjoy my content, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. To begin with, there weren't a huge amount of top lane changes. A lot of the changes in this patch were directed towards the marksman role, mainly in itemization, but there were a couple of top lane changes, so let's cover them. To begin with, Nasus got a slight buff. He gained 2% on the passive lifesteal and gained a bit of ultimate cooldown later on into the game. It does allow him to use his ultimate a bit more freely, and thus I have added him to the A tier. It can help running away and disengaging from fights when you really need the health and the additional resistances from your ultimate, and it allows you to more freely use your ultimate to just push and siege turrets. You can like rotate it twice, like you're sieging a turret in the top lane, you're then disengaging from that turret, and then you go and help out a Drake and you have your ultimate back of CD. It helps in certain circumstances like that, but for the most part, fairly minor. The passive lifesteal also fairly minor, but does help him definitely. Allows him to sustain through bad matchups and helps in trading good matchups. But overall, not bad, but still needs a bit more of a tap if he really wants to reach the higher tier of the tier list. Gangplank going to move up a tier. Gangplank definitely performing a bit better with the E cooldown going down later on into the game. It's gone from 18 seconds flat to 18 to 14. Allows him to use his barrels more freely. Just overall makes the champion feel a lot nicer to play. You're no longer punished as harshly for having a lot of barrels out, because you can definitely rotate through them a lot more. It also allows for the fact that you have a lot more AD in your build to feel just a bit better about your barrels and your damage and everything you're doing on Gangplank. So overall, definitely performing a bit better. Still also needs a bit more of a tap to really reach the higher tiers. I reckon we will see him a bit in pro play, just not a huge amount. If we are really going to see Gangplank, he definitely needs a bit more of a buff than that, because he's relatively squishy. He's more of a risky playstyle, especially with the crit build. You can try the Triforce build, it's just not really as good as the crit one, because he has a lot of crit scalers, so he really values the damage off that. Rumble got adjusted this patch, definitely a lot stronger. I'm going to move him all the way up to the A tier. People are building him incorrectly. I'm pretty sure his first item should almost always be Demonics. He seems to be performing really well with this item. And then something like Protobell, Night Harvester. I don't know if Riftmakers are great. Overall, Riftmaker as an item just isn't particularly good, so I imagine Night Harvester is the item you're going to be choosing second. But overall, definitely performing a lot better. He's still really powerful early game, and also is quite powerful mid game. Can compete with a lot of the bruisers. Really value the overheat in like being able to use Q a lot more freely in 50 to 150 range over the 50 to 100 range, which he used to have. So overall, just allowing him to use Q more freely in the danger zone, and then really engaging on people with your passive, and then the attack speed buff on the passive, really allowing you to beat them up quite comfortably. So overall, making Rumble a really powerful champion. So definitely consider trying him. He is very strong. Cassante, I'm going to move down to the D tier. Cassante, I wouldn't recommend picking this champion in solo queue. He's really, he's just vulnerable towards the fact that he's got long cooldowns. He's just harder to pilot, significantly harder to pilot than most other tanks in the game. Continues to be nerfed because of pro play. If you're, of course, higher ranks, then he definitely scales with the higher rank and the more games you put into him, and then you can consider him an A, B tier champion. But for the most part, for the average player, which is kind of where I'm targeting this tier list to, like a mid-elo player, I wouldn't recommend Cassante. He's definitely not a champ, which can it's just more valuable to pick a lot of the other tanks. Gragas, I'm going to move Gragas down to the C tier. Gragas just not performing anywhere near as well as he used to with the passive sustain nerfs. Even though his Q lost a bit of mana cost, the passive nerfs were really big. It means he misses out on a lot of health during laning phase, makes him a lot more susceptible to just being bullied out. So overall, just performing a lot worse because of that. Varus is going to be added to the A tier. Varus is gaining a lot of popularity in the top lane. I don't know if this one's because of Drew. I know that Drew has played Varus top, and Varus top has more games than Shen, I'm pretty sure. And Shen is not a popular top laner, but definitely the core top lane. So yeah, definitely a big sample size there. Performing quite well. This is the AP build, I believe, and Overall, just really powerful into a lot of the tanks. You can shred them really easily. It has very strong trading patterns. You can opt into things like the Hail of Blades for 3 autos onto a target, and then something like an E or Q to proc the damage on it. And overall, just doing a lot of damage to tanks can be really valuable within your draft. You do have to be careful though. He's still vulnerable to ganks. You can be punished really hard for that. Make sure you're getting your wards down, stuff like this, just to avoid being farmed by enemy jungle. Rek'Sai, I'm going to move up to the S tier. Rek'Sai's gained enough games where I'm confident that she is an S tier top laner. She is really valuable in the fact that her sustain makes her almost immovable in lane. Things like D-Shield, her passive, second wind, all these really valuable on Rek'Sai. Of course, if you're in a winning lane, you can still opt into things like the D-Blade, play a more aggressive rune set, maybe something like Domination Tree. But for the most part, second wind unflinching or second wind demolish is probably the way you're going to be going with it. And then running flash TP or flash ignite, and then D-Shield, D-Blade, and then Cogsbane Tree. You can either run Alacrity or Tenacity depending on the game. But overall, pretty strong at the moment. Lots of really good sustain. Really hard to lose lane on Rek'Sai. Also has E for escape, so she's not a vulnerable top laner. Yeah, overall just a lot of power within the pick. Things like Olaf still really strong, which are kind of similar to Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai doesn't scale as hard as things like the Olaf, but yeah, there's still a lot of value in this pick. Ryze, I'm going to move up to the B tier. Ryze performing a lot better after his buffs, where they buffed his mana into AP conversion, and they also buffed his E missile speed and E AP ratio. So overall, just performing a bit better in the top lane. Ryze tends to perform a bit better in the top lane over mid lane whenever he is buffed or not too bad. So I definitely recommend playing Ryze in the top lane. Renekton, I'm going to move up to the A tier. I'm not a fan of Renekton. I've never particularly been a fan of Renekton, but as of the moment, he is really good. Itemization, if you build him correctly, make sure you're going with Stride Breaker, not with Gore Drinker. Shojin, really powerful item on this champion. Really good AD ratio, so you really value the large amount of AD your item gives, plus the ability haste because you have no mana. You can spam our abilities really easily. The ult cooldown buff really helped Renekton, same with the damage, same with the E cooldown. Overall, just a lot of nice buffs towards this champion. Has put him in a decent spot. Definitely consider him an A tier pick. He's no longer... so yeah, he's easier to pilot. And just has more value within the game than he used to. So it definitely makes him a stronger pick. Tryndamere, going to move down to the B tier. It's been hard by a lot of the marksman item changes. Overall, Tryndamere probably desperately in need of a rework. He's really struggling with the fact that whenever ADC items change, he's someone who also suffers from this. Same with Yasuo, but Yasuo probably doesn't need to be changed. It's Yasuo's identity to kind of synergize with ADC items, things like the double crit, and just a lot of things within his kit. Just encourage it. So overall, yeah, I'm going to move Yasuo down a tier, same with Tryndamere. Yone is close to moving down to a B tier. He's not performing as much towards the A tier standard as I'd like him to, but I'm going to put that down to people just itemizing him slightly incorrectly. But yeah, if I continue to see his win rate dip and people continue to itemize him poorly, then yes, I will move him down to the B tier. Overall, this is probably going to be the last time we see this meta, because from what I can see, we are about to head towards a meta where a lot of champs are going to gain ratios on their abilities and lose a lot of base damage. So hopefully this really shifts things in the top lane, because we've had this meta for like almost a season. A lot of these champs are either mainstayers or they're like relatively in or out constantly in the top of the top lane. Things like Olaf have been really strong for a long amount of time. Malphite more recently, but definitely held a strong S tier spot. Rengar has been strong for a decent amount of time as well. Same with Kled, Zac, Shen, Warwick, Camille, Jax, Maokai have all stayed in the S tier for a while. Pantheon been an S tier pick for a decent amount of time as well. Poppy, more recently with her buffs, but still was a strong pick. Mordekaiser, more because of the fact that he's just a really good isolate, like an isolate and destroy kind of champion, but does have weaknesses. I was once tempted, I mean, I am still kind of tempted to move Mordekaiser down to the A tier. I think he can struggle into a lot of the top lane matchups, and definitely does get outscaled, but still a good pick. Kale, itemize her correctly, and she is a really strong champion. Akshan, same. Riven, really powerful with things like Ravenous. I'm pretty sure she still synergizes really well with a lot of the lethality items. Cassie, really, really strong champion, has been strong for most this season, especially with Roa. Ornn, powerful after his bug fix. Fiora, also just powerful as like the answer to a lot of these champions. And Rek'Sai is the one addition. Definitely encourage playing her. But yeah, overall, that's for top lane. Hopefully with the changes next patch, we see some shifts where some of the champs like Set and Mordekaiser get a bit adjusted. Mordekaiser, of course, still holding an S-tier spot, but hopefully for a different reason. Same with Set, and hopefully we see that with a couple of the champions. I'd love to see things like Tahm Kench feel a lot nicer to play in the top lane because he gets slaughtered by a lot of these matchups. Same goes for something like the Urgot, or maybe the Aatrox gets a bit stronger. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next one. Goodbye.